said not to start, but still.
He was introduced already as a multiplex author. In a way, I think from the beginning you were a missile scientist. So rocket science is his specialty. So please welcome on stage. And the panel, Vishwa Prasad Alva, founder CEO, SkanRay Technologies, will be with us. Then Guru Swamy, CEO, Penlon PLC. Vijaya Rajan, CTO and co-founder of InnAccel Technologies. Please come and have a seat. Girish Wardadkar, who is a former chief executive from Sogeti and in India and Capgemini too. And Ishwar Hemrajani, former vice president, service Wipro G.
Once the mobile phone is available for 2,000 rupees, you have to give subsidy for anybody to buy that mobile phone. So, I am setting the theme for this panel. And how do I relate to them? They are all beautiful flowers. And I want to be the thread. Mala mein dhaga. So, I first invite Alva, first of all, you bear a great name, Alva Edison. Now, your company is SkanRay. See, I am an author. In the sense now I learned how to speak good words. So when I went to his website, he said nothing is opaque. And I say, ये तो अद्वैत वेदांता वाला आदमी आ गया कि सब तो भ्रम है और जो कुछ माया है वो उसके ऊपर लगी हुई है. And if you penetrate that maya, you can see Brahma. So he is the Brahma, and I invite him to tell.
If you take the cost of a medical equipment, about 50% of the cost of the medical equipment comes from amortization of the R&D. And then about 40% comes from the material and then overheads and all of that. So just sheerly being in India, the R&D cost drops by 80% because of the cost structure of the country and the versatility of the people and the technology. And in critical care, the technology has evolved. It's not that it has evolved for medical purpose, but the entertainment, electronics, the telecom, the volumes of components and the processing capacity of the ICs have processors have gone so high, and the prices have dropped from a few $100 to less than $1. So even if you redesign the home care products or the critical care products today from scratch, the price will come down by 80% on the raw material side. And that is what SkanRay did. Most of us are from GE. I think we have about 700 people, professionals now, and I think about 300 are from GE, Siemens and Philips. And we never took any base design from any other company. We started from scratch. And instead of buying the modules from the module specialists, we started designing the modules in-house. So the NIBP module or the ECG module or the SpO2 module, when it is designed in-house, the cost drops. And what can make a difference is the application. One is integrating a lot of processing capacity, multiple processing capacity into one processor, and then removing the component count. Unlike in the past, if you take MNC's X-ray generator and what is built by SkanRay, you have a KV control board, you have a filament control board, you have a user interface board. All of them has become just one small board. It's not that the MNCs cannot design it today, but they focus on CT, MRI, and critical care is something that they think is a commodity. And that is where the country can make a difference. We have the volumes, just like how cell phones are not invented by the Chinese and Indians. It was done in Scandinavian countries, but the sheer volumes of the developed countries has brought the price down from rupees 1 lakh for a cell phone and 1,000 rupees monthly subscription to about 800 rupees for a cell phone and 50 rupees subscription. I think it's India's turn now to get the critical care, home care into the mass market, and the sheer volumes of India, China and Latin America can make the cost of healthcare drastically low.
They came to Guru Swamy, you are our Guru. And he is the person who solved the problem for the United Kingdom, and he got the order of from the Queen. And sir, this honor, like, moon is there, and moon has no light of its own. It is the light of the sun which gets reflected, and we say, Chand chamak raha hai. So the light which you have reflected by getting that honor is reflected on each one of our face. That is the pride you have done to all of us. Thank you, sir. And please tell us a story now that you are back. How you are going to lead the critical care, because critical care is still considered as ICCU. You go to any hospital, ICCU, and after that it is some neuro ICU, something very rudimentary. I mean, the ICCU, this ICCU should become ICU. And how it become ICU, you have to step in. You have your entire life, which I wish that you live 100 glorious years, but every year there are, his plate is full. And we all have to help him. And with this hope and with this expectation, I want to say a few things how we are going to revolutionize the critical care in India, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. That is really humbling. Honored to be here. Thanks, Mr. Prasanna, for this great opportunity. It's a great honor to be in front of all of you. So with that, I'll straight jump into, try and do some justice to whatever you asked me. I think in my opinion, whether it is an ICU, ICCU or critical care or imaging, there are a few common factors that drive some of these. So I'm going to, draw the contour of my next 4 or 5 minutes with respect to the experience that I had, in the ventilator challenge project that we ran in UK. I'm going to take the liberty, without asking permission from Sunil, to take draw some example from what BPL did in India, a great project for oxygen concentrators. Just share some, learnings, which probably are the way forward. The 3 things, that I look at when I look back are the key takeaways or learnings from these kind of massive projects, which have to be carried forward going forward. A is because we talk about innovation and pandemic, so I'm going to restrict to that. The paradigm of innovation itself. I think when we all think about innovation, the natural expectation is a quantum leap outcome, that will lead to patents, IPs, publications, etc., etc. But I think that the first, I wouldn't say myth, but that's the first paradigm probably that got shifted in pandemic. Because nothing of that sort could have happened in that small window of time. No one could have done an earth-breaking, grounds up major quantum leap innovation. So the contour of innovation was like, what can we do? Small little incremental innovations. How do we, as we go along, if we take the project of ventilator, I'm sure whatever I've heard on the project of the concentrators, it was all like, how do we innovate a few things that we have been always doing, maybe in terms of, setting up a production line, doing a different type of sourcing, training resources, hiring resources. There was a little bit of incremental innovation in all of that. So there's a fundamental shift in the thought process. Innovation doesn't have to be a big quantum leap one, but it has to be something which has to be a lot more democratized. Even going forward, I think that's very important. I mean, if you go back, we all have come from a background where the famous Japanese tools of Kaizen, incremental innovation and all of that. This is exactly what they all taught. How do we keep innovating in the processes that we do, in solutions that we offer, in products that we offer. So we have to find a way to democratize. We have to get into this mindset of innovations, incremental little innovations. Well, obviously the quantum leap innovations and discoveries also have to happen, but they are long term. They will come up with something very big, but we need to continue with that. That's one. And second, the second big takeaway and learning that I have seen is the fact. The phenomenon of reinventing versus repurposing. Right? You don't always have to reinvent things when you want to solve a problem. Right? Again, if I take the example of both these examples, of ventilator or the oxygen concentrators in India, there are several things that were repurposed. A ventilator of an anesthesia machine was repurposed for an ICU purpose. An oxygen concentrator of a smaller magnitude was repurposed for a higher volume requirement. So lots of repurposing in the product. A lot of assembly lines were repurposed. 12,000 ventilators in 12 weeks cannot be done in one facility. We had to have 4,000 people working 24/7 across multiple sites. So automobile production lines were repurposed. Aerospace production lines were repurposed. So repurposing of production lines. Resources, you'll never get 4,000 people in a matter of 24 to 48 hours to be hiring. So we had to repurpose. We went and hired pilots, who could come and do testing. We went and hired construction laborers and workers to do the logistics and transportation purpose. So fundamentally repurposing. And if you take India, for example, I think we have a lot of great things, assets available, knowledge and assets and available here. Our automotive industry is so strong. We have so much of technology available. Our IT, digital industry is so strong. We have so much of knowledge power available. I'm sure many of that could be very quickly repurposed. If there is a focused attention, if there is a focused effort that is put in, a lot of things can be repurposed. While of course reinventing also has to happen for a long-term benefit, this repurposing, value engineering is a classic example of repurposing, right? We all learned this technique from GE, the terminology from GE, and that's exactly what we used in this project. So value engineering, alternate engineering, a lot of things. Repurposing is a very important phenomenon. We have to institutionalize it, formalize it, and do it in a structured manner. Third thing is the power of collaboration. Right, that is something which is very important for us as a country. You touched upon that point. You told, of course, you gave a very clear ground rule that do not talk about government, what government does and government does not do. I don't want to get into that, but then I think the power of collaboration is very important. And how it happened in massive scenario like pandemic was, there was a very powerful uniting cause.
So our company InnAccel has got two themes. One is actually, today, innovation in medical technology happens in advanced countries. In these countries, your healthcare expenses are subsidized given by insurance or by government. So technology people do not have incentive to reduce the cost. So we said that we will look for products and solutions to be done in India for the Indian market at Indian price point. That's the first one. The second theme is, we all know that, correct? 70-80% of the medical equipments are imported from US and stuff. There are some specific issues in India for America will not be developing a product. For example, about 45% of our birth happens outside traditional setting. If these babies require support, they need to be transported. So during the transport, you need to provide them adequate support. Well, America will take it as on a priority basis to develop a product? Unlikely. So we said we'll go and look for those gaps and fill those gaps. So these are the two themes with which we started our company. Now, how that connects with pandemic. Now, Government of India gave an order from 1 lakh, I think became 30,000 or something like that. I called Alva to congratulate him. He said, sir, you hold your congratulation till I deliver. Okay. So I understand that. But in InnAccel, we have a product for ventilated patient. So we have some idea about that ventilation space. So even if it delivers, to make it available to the patient is going to be a long lead time. Infrastructure, people, training. So that's going to be a gap. The second one is most important is the clinical aspects of it. Ventilated patients, close to about 30 to 40% of die not because of the disease for which they came for treatment. They die because of the secondary infection what they've acquired because of the ventilation is called the ventilator-associated pneumonia. So we work in the space. So we understand that. So ventilator may not be a preferred option. There's a time, there is a report came from China in Wuhan study. Okay, they found that 50% of the people who died of COVID who are intubated had a secondary infection. So that sort of strengthened our view saying that probably this is not the solution. We need to figure out something. Parallelly, we have like what Sir was saying about is that we have a product for newborn breathing support device. So we thought that based on that platform, can we build one for adult non-invasive ventilation? So that's when we discussed with the doctors and stuff, we put together a proof of concept. So that's where actually the whole thing started. Luckily, US FDA and UK and ICMR came out with a protocol for managing mild and moderate COVID patients using a non-invasive ventilation, what we were thinking about. So it was got approval from the regulators. That's how we started. The next important thing which came out is how do I make it in a short period of time, like what Guru was talking about, or what Alva was trying to do. So we created a concept called co-creating with the stakeholders. So we identified all the stakeholders, engineering, manufacturing, supply chain, clinician. So I made a pitch to all of them as a compelling vision. So why we should do it as fast as possible. So how can we do that? So we initiated parallel activities. In supply chain, we went and met the customs officer in Bangalore because we were getting a lot of stuff from outside. Things do get stuck in the customs. So we made a presentation to him, what we are trying to do. So that really worked well for us. So we could do that in a short period of time. But non-invasive ventilation has got a side effects or some drawbacks. In a typical ventilator, everything is controlled by the machine. In a non-invasive ventilation, the patient breathes out, correct? That air can come to the caregivers and is detrimental to them. So then we looked around, okay, what do we do? What people are doing? There is something called a helmet, which the patients can wear. So we wanted to get one sample. There are only 2 companies who are making that helmet all over the world. So we saw what is the specification. So quickly we put together a prototype. There's a company in Pune who supported us in coming out with a model, and Thermax, because they were looking at what they can do for people to help. So we took their help and put together a helmet. And I think with all these things, probably we should have touched about 30,000 patients. Okay, but the important thing is we test them in a resource-constrained area, not in Apollo or that type of environment. We just went to the... So that's the background. So in summary, what I've learned, as an engineer, I have learned one. It is not the technology, it is not the features and functionality, focus on usability. My colleagues were there in the inside COVID wards, and they found what are the importance of the usability. So that's one learning. The second is align with our company's team, look for the gap and fill the gap.
No, I think on the different note, the most important learning that we had through the pandemic was how did the government and corporates come together and create a one team kind of a feeling. To me, whenever I worked with any of the government authorities, it never was anything to do with the bureaucracy. We'll see, we'll look at it, and a few days and months lost. So money was, of course, poured and was made available because of the purpose, because they were all chasing a particular goal. But I think besides the money part, what we learned, and money can be made available, technology can be made available. Vijaya Rajan can, innovate many new products. But the biggest bottleneck that we encountered, was people. For all the ventilators, Vishwa, you delivered, through one of the big programs Capgemini did. We never had people who could intubate. Forget the intubation skills, but even the second, third, fourth tier. So my biggest learning and therefore ask is why we develop technology and the rest of the ecosystem. The biggest element of success is having trained, skilled people. One, to deal with the patients. Second, to kind of run and operate, the entire technology, which is required, and everything else, that we require. Because like any other services segment, healthcare is all about people. And by the way, I'm not referring to MBBSs or the MDs and MSs, the high qualified people only. Of course, you require them, but I'm more referring to the support staff who are running 24/7, and the patient is actually looking up to the nurse for the care and for all the skills to be alive.